coloured fare coming in this direction, and it says, the message is, no, Silabhadra, it's not time for you to leave now, because you have a student who will come to you in 3 years' time. So after Xuanzang managed to get through the gatekeeper, because you need to go through the questions of the gatekeeper, when he got admitted in the university, he went straight to see Silabhadra. And when Silabhadra saw him, as the student coming, there was bright light coming in that direction. And he said, oh, okay. When they started talking, he says, how long did it take you to come over here? He says, Master, 3 years. Silabhadra cried. That was the student who was waiting for in order to transfer his understanding, his teachings of the Yogacara. And Xuanzang spent 5 years here before traveling in the other parts of India.
Victor actually does trail along Xuanzang's path in the Silk Road.
You should call yourself the authorized Xuanzang biographer.
So we're in the footsteps of Buddha, and he's in the footsteps of Xuanzang.
Exactly.
And this is where they meet.
This is where they meet.
This is where, and what we know about Nalanda is very much on the chronicles of people like Xuanzang. That's why he said there were 8,500 students, 1,580 teachers. They were destroyed later, but you know, there were people. The Chinese are very good at writing.
Yes, the Indians are not well known for their accounts because they talk about gods, they talk about heavens and all that. But Xuanzang is very meticulous. He will measure in terms of dimension and in very great detail, because everywhere he traveled in the Silk Road, very detailed accounts of the economy of the king, of the people, of the crops, you know, and how many monasteries they have, how many monks. Very detailed accounts, and that is why we learn so much because of his accounts.
Yes. Yeah. So one question I assume is what you see, he used to measure in quite a lot of detail how he traveled. My feeling is that he had a mala, and with his mala he took many steps and turned the mala.
Yes.
Otherwise, you know, sometimes it's like the distance could be 10 miles, 10 kilometers.
That's right.
And so the only way you can get very accurate is through using a very standard step. So he was doing a sort of walking meditation with his mala.
The only other way would have been getting corroborating sources from his hosts. Like you might ask, how big is this place, and then they might give a figure, and he might sort of think, okay, let's.
He also goes about measuring, because into the dimensions, height, breadth, location. That is how they confirmed Bodh Gaya through his description. Others will never know.
I think the other is not true. In India, we have a sense of like I go walking in the mountains and say how far is it? Just around the next mountain. 3 hours more, So we have a very different sense. And we don't think so much, even at that time, I think in terms of kilometers. Like
in numeric.
In numeric. They say, it's like, or it takes you 2 hours. We think in time. We say, even now, if you ask somebody, how far is it? Oh, it'll take you, it's half an hour.
That's not how Xuanzang writes.
No, he writes in B and
because he was trained. His father was a Confucian scholar. And even when he was young, he was trained for precision. That's Xuanzang. He keeps very good records. And he, of course, sketches also and drawings. And the good thing is that when he returned back to China, the emperor wanted to make him the advisor for external affairs, and he had to excuse himself from the emperor, and it was an order from the emperor. He says, Emperor, I cannot. I brought back all the scriptures from India, and I need to translate them. But as compensation, he promised the emperor to write an account of the Great Western region, which he did in 14 months. And that became almost the reference now that we are using in order to discover what 7th century was like along the Silk Road, all the kingdoms, 100 kingdoms.
Even Indian history part into that.
Yes.
Harshvardhana. You know the Kumbh Mela, for example, which happens, he went towards the Kumbh Mela. So at that time, Buddhists would go to the Kumbh Mela, and the Hindus, and there's what 637 books, 637 texts, major texts. So
he carried
on the Wild Goose Pagoda and Shia, and he just
on horses and elephants, and one stage the elephant fell into the river because he was being attacked, and they had to wait for the scriptures, the replacement scriptures to come.
So it was an immensely difficult journey, from Chang'an, that's Xi'an, modern day Xi'an, all the way across Mount Pamirs, then the deserts, then into India's jungles and things like that.
He nearly died. The Durga worshippers, they fought him, and they felt what a wonderful sacrifice for Durga. He was nice and looking like he like the and so he's then tied up. He's going to be basically killed. And then he says, that I came all the way to go to Vulture Peak. It was and then and then of course a huge storm comes out, the tree falls.
I think what happens is that he said, before you sacrifice me, I must make myself a pure vehicle for your goddess. So he sat down in meditation. And so they waited for him. And then a huge storm came, and that was in the Ganges River. And the boats which they were on all overturned. So one of the disciples just seized on the moment and said, there you see, he's not the person for you to sacrifice. They got scared and they released him. And when they came to him, and he says, is it time for the sacrifice?
So how long was this built?
It started in the 5th century, and then it was destroyed by the 12th century. So 700 years. You know, and Oxford University started in the West, 1173, 1170. This was destroyed in 1193. So you can see that for 700 years before that. Now the Tibetans say that there was actually something in the 2nd century, because they have they're trying to claim that Nagarjuna also was here. But that's another Nagarjuna actually. And so there may have been something in the 2nd century. It could have been because we know that this place existed right from the time of Buddha. The mango garden, etc. We also have Shariputra's stupa here. So it would have been important. And Shariputra was the intellectual, disciple of Buddha. So it is an appropriate place to have Nalanda University because of Shariputra. But all the remains and everything archaeologically found is only from 5th century.
And this region?
1193, 1193. So by the Turks.
Yes. And after that, Buddhism just died because there were no more teachers left. And there's one teacher left in 13 something, I think. There was one Tibetan teacher.
Dharmavasin. He came, actually, he was interesting because he describes the destruction of Nalanda.
The destruction of Nalanda.
Because his teacher is Rahul Silabhadra. He's a very old man. And Rahul Silabhadra knows it's going to be destroyed. So he says, you go away. And he said, I'm not leaving. He said, you Tibetan fool, you leave. And he said, I'm not leaving you, my teacher. And then it's supposed to be that he took him on his back and turns around and disappears. Now, actually, what I think is like those rooms there, they were a lot of hiding places. So he goes around 3 pillars and he disappears. And then when the Turks leave, then they come out again. So this happened, and then he goes to Bodh Gaya, and he describes at that time, he just joins a caravan party. So that those few descriptions are so important for us because we then know the whole of this area is in complete shambles. There's anarchy.
By this time, the Buddhist flame has it's sort of transmitted to Tibet to other areas.
The Buddhism really started declining. Even Xuanzang mentions it's declining in the 7th century. And by the 8th century, especially with the rise of Brahmanism and Shankaracharya, Buddhism was pretty much on its last stage. It is only really surviving in institutions like this.
The big mega monasteries.
A little bit in East, in Kalinga, in Orissa side. But there were only pockets, and we were so dependent.
Like the wider community is not really.
The wider community is dying.
Like
everyone's sort of crammed into the mega monasteries. I was proposing to Shantam.
Probably because they got assimilated by Brahmanism, because it was the doctrines start to modify. So
assimilation, yes. And that is why the Buddha became the reincarnation of Vishnu, and actually, taking some principal teachings of Buddhism that it got incorporated in Brahmanism.
By the time of Xuanzang's time, there's also a very interesting economic shift going on. There's this sort of like a militaristic rise of Shaivite kings in the south. Their values are based on military conquest and Shiva and all these tantric traditions. And then they're sort of forcing on the back foot the traditional patrons of northern Indian Buddhism, merchants, the caravan owners, the big businessmen, bankers. They've relied on commerce. And then once their main sources of commerce were cut off by these kings who were sort of rampaging and believing in Shiva, then they had no money to give to the monasteries anymore. So that's another interesting...
So we lost our patronage. And so we have to learn why we got destroyed, why Buddhism disappeared. It's one of those mysteries of history we speak about, because how can a whole culture, whole country which is Buddhist suddenly lose what is... And so I also feel there are a lot of internal reasons. We have to look within the Buddhist fold to see that we became completely cut off from the lay people. We were dependent too much on patronage of the kings and of the great merchants. So when the merchants... things were cut off. And the other was that we became very esoteric. We started becoming very philosophical. We started imbibing a lot of Brahmanical teaching, so we started becoming indistinguishable.
Some also say that the arising of the Tathagata Garbha doctrine the Buddhists became too close to Atma. Because Tathagata Garbha is the eternal self and all this. So things start to become really close.
No, I think that's very, very. And what did the co-option part he sort of took in?
They call him
Shankara was the ultimate anti-Buddhist. He was really good at it, attacking all of the Buddhism's philosophical weak spots. Shankara was very
and he also described many, like we now feel, I think places like Jagannath is the main temple in Puri, and the great Hindu temple, was basically Buddhism. Really? Because if you look at the statues inside, and every 12 years they change the statue, they take something out which they feel is contribution. Bhagavath, no. It's not a very these are all places in Shankara. He made 4 places. Like there's 4 pilgrimage points. Yeah. And those Buddhist points.
Oh, you know the Anand,
yes.
And he does this research around this area, and it's amazing. Many of the Hindu gods that people worship in the village, when you go closer and you see there's a bodhisattva statue. Oh my God!
There's a temple we go to. You know, it's a Surya god. They say Surya, and they're all basically, but they're more counted gods. They're basically all Buddhist all.
Even the Buddhist, a lot of the Buddhist structures, the paintings, they're very influenced by Hindu structures. I think when they repainted some things.
Well, I've been in some of the villages in the Origai region, and you can clearly see that a Buddha, and they worship for some, I don't know, centuries or decades.
No, there's one particular one. That's interesting. There's a temple here. So when this was taken away by the